Normal Redditors that dated a celebrity, what was it like? A fairly close acquaintance of mine at the time went on a few dates with Natalie Portman when they were both at Harvard around 2002. He said she was exceptionally down to earth, genuine, and very engaging. Edit, okay, honestly, what the actual fuck? Reddit is the fucking Twilight Zone. I just thought it was a cool anecdote from my younger and more vulnerable years. Apart from a few holiday break college parties, I barely knew the guy. It was like a 20 minutes convo from 18 years ago. And he didn't even bring it up, resisting the topic altogether. My childhood best friend egged him into sharing what little details I recall. I really don't know anything about Natalie Portman, but here's what I do know. She is so fucking cool, that a guy she dumped after just a few dates, was so fucking cool that he hesitated to even publicly acknowledge ever dating her. And after all, he lost the girl, so I completely understand his trepidation. A guy that humble, reserved, and mature at such a young age is fucking cool. But obviously just cool enough for 3 dates with Natalie Portman. Honestly, the 20-minute story told me everything about how fucking cool Natalie Portman is. Natalie Portman is the reason I work out. I have this fantasy where we start talking at the Vanity Fair Oscars party bar. We exchange a few pleasantries. She asks what I do. I say I loved her in New Girl. She laughs. I get my drink. Well, see ya, I say and walk away. I've got her attention now. How many guys voluntarily leave a conversation with Natalie Portman? She touches her neck as she watches me leave. Later, as the nights dragged on and the coterie of gorgeous narcissists grows increasingly loose, she finds me on the balcony, my bow tie undone, smoking a cigarette. Got a spare? She asks. What's in it for me? I say as I hand her one of my little white ladies. She smiles. Conversation with me, duh. I laugh. What's so funny? She protests. Nothing, nothing. It's just. Don't you grow tired of the egos? You get used to it, she says, lighting her cigarette and handing me back the lighter. What would you do if you weren't an actress? I ask. Teaching, I think. And if I was your student, what would I be learning? Discipline, she says quickly, looking up into my eyes, before changing the subject. Where are you from? Bermuda, I say. Oh wow. That's lovely. It's okay, I admit. Not everything is to my liking. What could possibly be not to your liking in Bermuda? She inquires. I don't like sand, I tell her. It's coarse and rough and irritating and it gets everywhere. My mom had a dinner date with George Clooney in the 90s. She didn't really say much apart from the fact that he's an interesting and charismatic guy, but she honestly didn't think he was going to blow up. My best friend's mom worked with him years ago, their early 20s or college age-ish. He was a shoe salesman, she was security. Said he talked about wanting to act and get famous and everyone doubted him, but he was always nice to everyone and a likable guy. Said he always talked about wanting to act and get famous and everyone doubted him, but he was always nice to everyone and a likable guy. My wife and I took ballroom dancing lessons many years ago. The teachers, a married couple, said that in the 80s late 70s, they lived next door, or possibly a couple doors down, from Keanu Reeves, who was just a young boy at the time. Said he came over often to play with their son and often ate at their place. The lady said that he always said he was going to get into acting and become famous, and they would say, oh. Okay, that's nice dear. Lol. People always tell kids, the sky's the limit. Reach for the moon, because if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Dream big. Follow your goals/dreams. But people seem to end up going back on their words, and then doubt creeps inside someone's personality, and that person, who might have actually been able to achieve their goals and make a difference in the world, ends up settling for security and complacency. It's saddening really. I'm glad Mr. Reeves didn't let anyone else's opinion affect him to the point where he let go of his dreams. Not a date, per se, But I had a nice quiet dinner with Samantha Fox in her hotel room in Toronto in the 80s. She was in town for a show and I was attached to her security detail. She asked me to eat with her because she didn't want to go out but hated eating alone. Sweet girl, kinda sad too. Lonely. Edit, well that blew up. I don't remember a lot of details, what we ate etc, but I do remember we talked about her growing up in the UK and being still amazed at her success. I do remember she said she looked forward to seeing the world on tour, but apparently the world all looked like the same hotel room. She never got to just explore and play tourist. A family friend's mom went clubbing with Lady Gaga. Afterwards, Gaga asked if she knew who she was. Friend's mom had no idea. This is my favorite one so far. It's endearing to think of someone hanging out with Lady Gaga and having zero clue who she is. How did she end up clubbing with Lady Gaga? Was this a long time ago? Were they not being mobbed by people? Just trying to imagine the circumstances that led to this, and can't. Reminds me of my best friend's dad. He was volunteering at a local festival/concert many years ago and in search of a bathroom he wandered into the backstage area. At that time, Velvet Revolver was a thing, and they were the show's headliners, so my friend's dad ends up back there and the band is slowly getting ready for when it's time for their set. Friend's dad asks where the bathroom is and points it out. Friend's dad takes a piss, then comes back and smokes a cigarette while making small talk with then heads back. Had no idea who he was hanging out with. R. Kelly asked me out on a date in the mid-90s. I declined because I had a boyfriend at the time. Besides, I was too old for him lol. So you were, what, 18 years old? I have a family friend who dated Daniel Radcliffe. I was 7 at the time they dated, and a huge Harry Potter fan. I don't remember much aside from the fact that he was a really sweet guy. On my 8th birthday, my family friend told Daniel it was my birthday and he texted me a personal happy birthday message despite never having met me. Absolutely made it the best birthday ever. Edit, you are all asking why I had a phone at 8 years old. To clarify, Daniel texted from my family friend's phone to my mom's phone, and sadly, I don't still have the message, as my mom's messages were deleted when she got a new phone. I know it sounds unbelievable but it's true, I swear, on Reddit. I dated Flux Pavilion for 7 years. It was great. So we got married in January. I enjoy my own company so the touring isn't really a problem. Edit, I posted that and then felt guilty about such a low effort post. So, it's nice to share my life with a person so creatively fulfilled. I love hearing whatever he's worked on that day when he gets home. I get to tag along to cool places, and it's sweet to see how much people care about his music. I generally don't try to explain what he does when I meet new people because they either won't get it and don't care, or they do get it, care too much, and then only want to talk to me about his music. Largely though, just a normal happy marriage. He judges me when I listen to Radio 1. I judge him when his phone isn't on silent. His job isn't much of a factor in our daily life. I married Josh, not Flux Pavilion, really. He's an excellent husband for myriad reasons, and his musical talent is only one of those. My mom was really good friends with Andre the Giant, Andrei Roussimoff, because he used to frequent her place of work. According to her, he was the sweetest, most gentle man she ever met in her life. She misses him, disappointed face. Edit, since this blew up I'll add a little bit of unrelated fun. My mom also mooned Hillary Clinton and got her talking to by Secret Service. Edit number 2, from my dad. Yes, she met him downtown Salt Lake City and waited on him whenever he came into the bar she worked at. She said he was a very nice man, his whole hand covered her face plus some. Edit number 3, from my mom. He is very kind person. He would give you the shirt off his back. He was a very calm person when talking with people. He was messed with as a child due to his size. He was from France. He suffered from giantism. He was 7 feet 4 inches tall. He weighed like 500 pounds. He wrestled at Madison Square Gardens. This man was what you call a real gentle giant outside the ring. He put his hand up to my face and it was bigger than my head. He loved his career and his fans. He was very sensitive. He had a real calm voice when talking to him. I was able to sit with him and talk for at least an hour on my lunch breaks when he came to visit. Not me, but my aunt dated Weird Al Yankovic when she was in her mid-20s. I wasn't alive back then, but my family tells me he was a genuinely funny person in a way you wouldn't very much expect. I can't personally give any examples, but my dad and aunt have plenty of stories. One of my much older cousins actually has a signed guitar that Al played within a live show. My aunt and Al met from my dad being a radio DJ as a teenager, and he met a lot of celebrities through that. Mostly 90s and early 2000s pop and country stars, but anyways, the station my dad worked at threw Weird Al a birthday party, and my aunt just happened to be there, and they ended up together for a decent amount of time. Every once in a while Al will come into town to say hi to her. Even though they aren't together, they are still friends. And no, Al isn't cheating on his wife with my aunt. My aunt's a strong married Christian, and I'm more than 100% sure she wouldn't do that. One of these days I might end up meeting him, which I think would be pretty cool. Probably too late for this, but about 15 years ago, when the show The Simple Life, with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie was popular, I made out with Paris Hilton at a nightclub in Baltimore. Essentially, they were filming them doing all sorts of random jobs around the country and staying with local families, all for the culture clash laughs. One of those families ended up being my friend and her family. Being a close friend, and a well-known admirer of Paris at the time, I was invited over and got to hang with her and Nicole Richie a good amount while they were in town. Both of them were super sweet, and a lot smarter than they played for the camera. Paris was a great kisser, and this story is always a hit with my friends. A few months later, her phone was hacked and nudes were leaked. My number was in her phone book and I got spammed with prank calls from 4chan, or something. I imagine it was a lot worse for anyone who was actually famous. Anyhow, basically lost total contact after that. But still a fun story. My uncle hooked me up to see Foreigner in 1981, including 2 backstage passes. I took a girl I really liked, but she ended up meeting Mick Jones and disappearing with him into a dressing room. I didn't see her again that night. So I guess you could say I got fucked by Mick Jones. Edit, her side of the story was that she went with him into another room where people were drinking and smoking, and he ignored her after that. She said she stayed there 20 minutes, then left and couldn't find me, and I had ditched her. So just to be clear, I'm not accusing Mick of doing anything inappropriate. That's her story, and her mother believed it enough to call my mother to complain about it, so yeah, that's what must have happened. Not dated for any of these stories, but semi-related. My mom went to a party with Janis Joplin. She said she was wild, funny, but crude, and smelled like she hadn't showered or brushed her teeth in weeks. Janis Joplin died not long after. I went to university in West Chester, Pennsylvania. Seeing Bam Margera, Ryan Dunn, and crew was a relatively common sight. The first time I saw them was the same night I got the call from my parents telling me that my family dog was put down, very old, very sick. My friends took me out drinking and we ran into Bam and crew. Bam asked why I was down, and when I told him, he bought my drinks for the rest of the night. I went out bar hopping with them a few times after that. They were nice, but wild. Could never quite prepare myself for a night out with them. Ryan was as kind as could be and absolutely hilarious. My college roommate and best friend became YouTube famous over the years. It has been really odd to watch it happen. I've been on trips with her, gone to conventions, seen fans cry over her, and cry over me, which is even odder, and it's a weird balance of totally normal and totally abnormal. When we go out to lunch, sometimes she'll get a fan or two that ask for a picture, but it has changed the way she views the world. Every time she leaves the house, it is stressful for her. She's always worried about how she's looking or acting. She's always been a sweet girl, so she really doesn't have much to worry about, but she stresses so much about being her best self to everyone she meets because you never know who knows her and who doesn't. She's terrified of anyone having anything but a 100% positive experience with her. It can really wear on a person to not be able to let that go. And yes, YouTube famous may not be what Op had in mind, but I'm sure this applies elsewhere. The loss of anonymity is brought up often with celebrity, but I didn't really understand it till I saw her go through it myself. Edit: Hi, it's not Jenna Marbles. I don't want this to turn into a guessing game. I'm sure the experience is a common one. If it sounds like someone you watch, it probably applies to them too. But I won't be saying who my friend is, because I'm not really interested in feeling like I'm using her name for Reddit karma or something. I just thought I had something halfway worthwhile to add to this conversation. I dated a celebrity who was a big deal in her genre, but nobody else has probably ever heard of her. It was really nice being moved to the front of the line and having great seats wherever we went. I honestly couldn't deal with the attention she got all the time. She had beautiful women throwing themselves at her, messing with her hair and clothes, touching her. I felt like I could never compete and she could sleep with any one of them whenever she felt like it. Plus she had to be the center of attention. If she wasn't getting enough attention, she would create a scene. I also eventually noticed that she wouldn't let on that we were dating. She always said she was single, so that was why she had all these women coming on to her everywhere we went. It felt like a game and I didn't want to play. After we broke up, she started dating a jazz musician who thought she was more popular than she actually was. It was very comical seeing them out in public together trying to see who could get the most attention. I was amazed that they could both of their big fat heads in the same car. Didn't date, but I was the side dude to a kinda well-known porn star. I shit you not, we met at an AA meeting and really hit it off. I met up with her a few weeks later and we went for a walk. She told me she was dating someone seriously and that she just wanted us to be friends. I was pretty cool with it. Where we lived was a pretty small town and I had just gotten out of rehab and was pretty lonely. We ended up hooking up after about 3 more times hanging out, and then I ended up being our booty call whenever she wanted. She told me she did porn after we had sex. She said she didn't want me to feel intimidated. Cut it off when she started getting heavily into drugs and drinking again, and I was trying to get my life straight. She started showing up at my house late at night and would freak out when I would deny her. It became bad news bears. Worst is a few years later I saw her come into a bar I was working at and she was gone. She didn't even know who I was. It was super sad. But when it was first going on, it was a lot of fun.